Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show, coming to you from Radio Dabang, the premier Bollywood network for North America, broadcasting into Karachi, Mumbai, New Delhi, and Fort Bend County, Texas. The Stamp Act was the pivotal event that set in motion the eventual creation of our country. The philosophical foundation of this country was started by an opposition to a tax. The Stamp Act was the first direct tax placed on the colonist, and it was a minimal tax. It was not much. It was put in place for what some to be a very legitimate purpose. This tax was in place so British troops could protect the continent. The continent had just been under a war, a 7-year war with the French. And after the war was over, the British had to place troops on the continent to ensure that a French invasion or any other foreign invader would not penetrate our country. And so the British Parliament and the British King placed a tax on the colonists. The tax was lower than any tax that the people in homeland in the mother country, England, paid. It was a lower tax. It was minimal. And it was for a very legitimate purpose. It allowed the colonists to develop this continent from end to end, free from any foreign intervention. And yet, in spite of all the legitimacy of this tax, the colonists said no. They said, "You will not take our property. You will not confiscate our earnings." And they did it knowing all of the risks. They did it in spite of the risks. They did it on a moral and a philosophical foundation. And regardless of how much the loyalists within the country and the British argued for the legitimacy of this tax, on a moral basis, the colonists said no. And the country was born and the Revolutionary War was started. So it's very important for everyone to understand that the roots of this country, the start of it was an idea. And the idea was a protest to a taxation. And oh, by the way, the minute that we started this war, our country was vulnerable to foreign intervention. We were vulnerable to foreign threats in a minute. And regardless of all this, our people moved forward in spite of all of these threats, and they stood their ground and fought for their property. And that was 200 years ago. 200 years ago, our country was born on this idea. And 200 years later, here we are fighting this idea to this day. To this day, we are taxed, and in the state of Texas, our property taxes are some of the highest in the country. So in spite of the moral foundations of our country, we are still taxed beyond reason. And on today's show, we're going to dedicate this show largely to the idea of taxation, because it's a hot topic in the state of Texas, where today we have a legitimate effort to remove property taxes within the state of Texas. And this is the Chris Heasley Show. And on this show, we will give you all the ideas, the content, the information that you need to take back your village, your borough, your city, your county, our great Texas counties, our state, the great state of Texas, and our country. But there's an obligation that comes with this show, and the obligation is on you. And the obligation is get involved at the local level and join this effort to end property tax in the state of Texas. We have the bureaucrats outnumbered 10,000 to 1. But we are asleep at the wheel. But today the opportunity is at hand, because there's a legitimate effort to restore our rights. And it happens. It only happens if you get involved in this effort at the local level. And with that being said, we have a great show. We have a great show today. And on today's show, we have two guests, one of which is Mark Goloby? Goloby, I apologize. Mark Goloby. And Mark is a very interesting man. Mark, I would say that if I understand correctly, his driving mission has been to fight taxation in the state of Texas. He's been known as an activist only. You do not hold public office, is that correct?
I do not.
Right. So I've known of Mark. I've met him just today, but I've known of him for some time. simply because this man is leading the fight to end property taxes in the state of Texas. And I look forward to hearing more about you, Mark. It's good to see you, and thank you for being on the show.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate being here.
And we have another fighting Texan in our studio today, Alexandria Butler, and very impressive woman, a woman who initiated her fight to restore sanity in our country because her family was personally harmed by the leftist agenda.
Absolutely.
And now she's taken the ball and she's running with it. She is, I would say, a leading candidate for Congressional District CD9 right now on the Republican ticket. And this week she met her challenger, Al Green. Is that right?
Yeah, that was funny.
Tell us about that.
Oh, wow. So I went to Austin to testify, signed up in the kiosk to testify, but we didn't get an opportunity because I had to leave, had a lot of other events planned for the evening. And I don't think the public testimony even started till like around 6 or so. So, I mean, I had to leave at like 2. And I hear a lot of commotion in the halls of the Capitol building there in Austin. And everybody's like, oh, Al Green, they're fangirling over this guy, you know, getting his autograph. Oh, got to get your autograph. Thank you for getting this bus and getting us down here to the Capitol because, you know how the Dems operate. They will get a bus. They'll pay for a bus, pay for them to have lunch, send them on down to the Capitol to protest, and they're in the hallways fangirling over this guy like he's some celebrity. And I said, Al Green, and he turns around, looks at me, and I said, hey, how are you? He said, oh wow, you have very pretty eyes and a pretty smile. I said, thank you. I'm your opponent. I'm running against you in District 9. He snatches his hand out of my hand. And I'm like, I was startled, by that because I'm like not expecting that. And he's like, well, I'm not going to shake your hand. You're my opponent. I said, well, what about healthy competition, And he said, well, what? Okay. Like he's kind of scoffing at me a little bit. Then then I said, well, hey, you want to take a picture? He said, well, what am I supposed to campaign for you too?
I'm going to score that 1 Alexandria Butler, 0 Al Green. Already in this campaign, we can say Alexandria Butler is in his head. She's in his head. I think it's safe to say.
Rent free.
I think his job is gone. I mean, nobody in the new District 9, after it's redistricted, nobody is going to vote for this guy there.
Well,
nobody
before
wants
we
an
get
Al
into
Green.
taxation, I find your race to be the most interesting, fascinating race in the state of Texas.
Yeah, it's
really
taking a turn.
And I want to say something about Alexandria. She started this race before the redistricting, and there was, for the most part, a very, very small, almost no chance that she could win.
Right.
And she was told by everyone, pressed by everyone, put it down, stop, and quit, all of this stuff. And for some women, the fighting spirit in this woman, she kept marching on. Now we're six months into her, out there working it, and she has visited.
6 months.
6 months, is that
Yeah,
the right
it
number?
has
About
been
6 months,
I'm
4 to
just-
6 months, I would say.
Wow, it went by so quick.
And really, there's the redistricting just happened, so now everyone's getting the idea to put their name in the ring to go up against Al Green because, like she said, he's not going to win.
No.
But Alexandria she was out there before anyone else, shaking the hands at all the Liberty events,
Yes.
going to the local churches, going to the school board meetings.
Yes.
And I would not say it's definitely not an official campaign. There's been no advertisements or money spent or anything of that. But she's done all these other things. And now it's going to be interesting because we're going to see some heavyweights step in this ring, and they're going to have money.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you feel going up against when this thing gets a little bit more interesting?
Honestly, I'm not afraid. I operate on 3 principles: no fear, no favor, no compromise, and that's just kind of how I roll. And people jumping in the race after the fact, it really doesn't bother me. It kind of makes me feel like David going up against Goliath. You know, if anybody knows that story, and I'm not afraid. I know God, and I feel that I was called to do this, and so I made that up in my mind a long time ago. Win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna see this thing through. I'm gonna see what God has called me to do, and if it just means that one soul is saved in the midst of all of this, that's fine. But I think it's gonna be greater than that. I mean, just seeing the turn of events, how things have transpired from the beginning until now, it's been pretty intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that. And again, money
exciting.
is less of an issue every day, and work ethic is more of an issue and a message.
Yes.
And you have been out there working it more than anyone. I expect you to put the gas pedal down even greater now, so it's going to be very interesting.
Need a little rest, but I will do that.
But one of the things I find very interesting about Mark, you're with the Cherry Tree Republicans. You are treasurer for the PAC of the Cherry Tree Republicans, and this is a very interesting group. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Well, the Cherry Tree Republicans have been around for over 30 years. We've met up there on the northwest side of Houston for many, many years, and we are very active. One of the things that we did from the PAC this time was we did a big text campaign for the 10 judges that were running the 5 on the first appellate and the 5 on the 14th appellate courts, and did a big text camp all around the county that surround, because those courts represent not just Harris County, but 10 counties that surround Harris County. So we did a big text campaign for them and able to go through there and push them over the edge. All 10 won. And because of that, we really had a major shift. There's only like 3-4 Democrats left on the 2 courts combined. Okay. So, they're able to set the agenda, they're able to set the rules, they're able to set how they litigate things and how things are brought to them. So now you have conservatives in charge of all those issues, and that makes a big difference in how justice and how things get done, because they hear all kinds of appeals, not just they hear the civil, they hear criminal, they hear a family, they hear all the different types of issues that are brought toward a court. So, like I said, they have Terry Adams before, and now he's got a lot of company, and we've got some strong conservatives on that 1st and 14th appellate court. So we were happy about that, happy to be a part of it, happy to help make that happen.
Okay, so how many appellate courts are there?
15.
15.
Yeah.
And each appellate court has more than one judge?
Yes, they're each, I guess there's 9, I think. There's 9 on each one. Then there's the 15th, which is a corporate court that was just established last year or 2, okay? And this is to hear corporate type stuff, to try to get more of the technical type of suits and the technical issues out of these appellate and get a bit more where you have folks who are more technically oriented to hear cases that are more... It's very hard to go through there, and some of these cases are very, very intricate with the technology we have today and all those kind of things to keep the courts be able to keep up with it. They set up the 15th.
9 judges per court, and each one of those judges is elected. It's an elected position.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how many races did you affect with your text campaign?
10.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. No, we were. Yeah. It was.
Out of the 10 that you participated in, how many did you win?
10.
Wow.
All of them.
Yep.
This is Cherry Tree Republicans, and they essentially played a pivotal role in getting 10 appellate court judges elected that are conservatives.
Yep.
That's a considerable.
That's
a considerable
huge.
achievement.
Well, we're happy. Yeah,
So
we're
as
happy
you
to be
guys
part
were
of it.
doing this text campaign, you were seeing the numbers matriculate over into your data and everything. You could see it in real time and everything.
Yeah, we could see, we could get feedback from people. We got the kind of things that people would do. We kept going through and saying, get out and vote, get out. Well, I've already voted. We'll go tell, then we could text
tell
back to
somebody.
them and say, we'll go find 10 more friends to go vote. I voted. I don't need to, leave me alone kind of thing. No, it's not over. You gotta go find 10 more people, go out there and vote. So so it's an interactive type deal.
That's
So we can
amazing.
actually go through and text, and then any response we get, we can respond to that. And now, one of the things that Cherry Tree Republicans has been on is a youth campaign. I mean, we've sponsored high school students in our club. We even had one of them go out and be a Senate page in D.C. for the U.S. Senate.
Beautiful.
And so we were at Cardin Trong, was able to go through there and become a Senate page. So we're the only Republican club in America that has a Senate page as a member.
Right.
So that's one of the things we can claim.
That's a big deal.
It's fun. And then the other thing we're working on is a tool that we put on our website, okay? And what this is an ability for people who are going to go off to college, all right, to access this web page, okay, and find conservative groups that are active on that college campus.
Yes.
So they're able to go through, log in, see it, and they have a whole list. So Young Americans for Liberty, Young Conservatives of Texas, Texas Federation of Republicans. They're all listed there. We're agnostic to any one particular group, okay? So that way they can go through, they can see. Now, I'm going to go off to some liberal college thinking that, oh gosh, there won't
I'm
be
the
any,
only one here.
I'm the only one there. There
Right.
won't be any friends, okay? I have to keep all my conservative ideas to myself,
Right.
okay? Well,
Right.
guess what? You go here, you can say, hey, look, there is a conservative group. I can reach out. Now, instead of them having to go recruit, okay, now people are coming to them to say, hey, I want to join your club. And then we've also built into that access to the various organizational structures. So if your college isn't listed, now you can go through there and say, oh, let me go call this guy.
Yeah.
I want to open a chapter on the UTSA campus or some other campus that doesn't have one. So it's a very dynamic, because we have to go through and get our young conservatives to give them a base, a foundation, and support, right? So that they feel comfortable in their conservative and know that we're supporting them in their efforts to expand our cause. I mean, if we don't have anybody to flip the ball back to, okay, if we don't have a running back there to take the ball, it gets fumbled.
Right, it's going to fumble.
So we have to go through there and work stronger and stronger to get these, especially young conservatives. You've met Patrick Prudhomme. You've
Yes.
met Caleb Holmes. Okay,
Caleb Holmes.
So those guys are all card and trong, and those are the kind of guys that we are helping want to cultivate and help them grow and find other young conservatives to grow. So that's another big thing that we're on. It's on our website, cherrytreegop.com/college conservatives. It's right there on the page. So
Excellent.
take advantage of it, and we want every club, every organization, every Republican organization to know that this is available to any student. Just log on, go find the school, and call them up.
That's beautiful.
Could you repeat the first part of what you said again about what your Cherry Tree Republicans did with the Senate? Could you repeat that part again, that first part of before you got into the list of schools, list of clubs,
The Senate page?
the Senate page?
Oh yeah, okay. So there's a group of pages, okay, and they go out and recruit them across the country, and I think every senior senator, so Cornyn, okay, can bring in these pages, and then they're there at the Capitol. Sometimes you'll see those young people running around doing stuff and carrying papers and doing
Yep,
this and doing
yep.
that.
Busy.
Those are the pages, okay. They take classes.
They're runners.
It's a 6 month. Yeah, right. Yeah. So they're there. I think he was there for 6 months, and they go through training. They get exposed to all the different senators. They get exposed to all the different things. It's a great experience.
Yes.
Maybe you can have we'll get Cardin on here, and he can tell you all about his experience there.
Good deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of groups that are playing that are increasingly heading to the colleges. Charlie Kirk has a group.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, turning point.
So it's good to see more local groups like yourself on our campuses.
Yeah, and like I say, we're agnostic to it. So we're not pushing this club over that club. That's their job, okay, locally
Right.
to drive their membership,
Right,
okay?
right.
We're just trying to make sure that they get the recognition that they're on the campus and they're available to somebody to
I like
to
that
join.
you're bringing awareness to it, because a lot of people don't know. They hear about a turning point when they're not local. So somebody will say, oh, turning point, that's all there is, right? We have to wait for them to show up, wait for the Charlie Kirks to show up, wait for these celebrities to show up. But you're bringing awareness to local clubs so these people don't have to feel like I'm on an island here somewhere with my beliefs. Everybody over here is a Dem or leftist or communist or whatever these people are.
And those are the
Antifa.
professors.
Right. Those are just the professors. We haven't even talked about the students, but see, to bring awareness, I think that it's just very important that we bring awareness to local grassroots. Like, that we just don't get enough of a priority. I think I'm starting to see it now, right? I'm starting to see the Republican Party of Texas kind of circle back and say, you know what, we've got all these local groups. Let's kind of bolster them up a little bit, because they're doing all of the work. Whenever they need block walkers, whenever they need somebody to do thus and so for them, they're coming out to the local grassroots. They're not reaching out to your Blexits and your turning points. They're reaching out to local, and most of us are self-paid. Most of us are, struggling, to make it day by day with our groups and, whatever have you. But I'm really glad that you're doing this. This is very important. We need more of it. We need more unity in the Republican Party. We need to show people that you have options. There's not just one group. There's all of these groups. You have a plethora of groups. So try one. You
Yeah.
know, you might like it. You'll meet somebody you like, good friends, lifelong friends, you know, in these groups.
Yeah.
And I think
No.
a lot of those national groups are getting bought up by outside
Oh,
influences.
absolutely.
Yeah, because
And they're losing credibility.
It's
yeah,
about-
they start getting big and they have to start funding, all the payrolls. Okay, so that
Right.
becomes
There's
part
a
of the problem.
lot of positions.
And
to pay
that's why
for
I'm
on this.
excited about the redistricting that's going on, okay?
Me
Because
too.
we're going to have paler reds and paler blues,
Right.
which means they're going to be competitive,
Right.
which means that these people are going to have to realize we have to get the grassroots involved.
Right.
Now, if I'm in a red, okay, well, if they're there for me, if they're not, I don't
Right,
care because,
right.
hey, man, I've got this red district, okay? Now it's a little bit paler and a little bit more competitive, okay?
Gotta work.
They're
now.
going to have to go through there and reach out and get the grassroots and understand the viability
Right.
and the criticality of the grassroots movement, to their success in winning the race. And that's why another reason why I think redrawing these districts and making this happen is
beautiful.
exciting. It's exciting.
It is beautiful.
For Texas, and I'm like I say, I'm glad to see paler reds and paler blues because it forces more conversations and it forces a better dialogue to solve problems at a kind of at a local level.
Right.
So that when you go to DC, you're not in a silo. I don't have to worry about my grassroots because I'm in a red district.
Right.
All right. I'm insulated.
Right.
Well, not so much anymore. So you do need your grassroots. You
Right.
need those people helping you out.
Yeah, I think
exciting.
even within our deep red districts, I'd like to see the competition happen between primaries because
I agree.
There are established names in the state of Texas that simply don't come out of the office.
Right.
They won't do this show. I was involved with an activist group before this. They would never come to our meetings because they don't have to.
Right.
And so I would love to see their foundation sort of get challenged a little bit.
I agree.
Because it's just necessary.
Yeah, everybody goes through and gets an annual review at their job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're getting an annual review every other year. You got to step up and tell them, hey, this is why I should be here. And I think that I think we've gotten away with that a little bit because
That's what's causing this whole career politician thing. That people they don't have to do anything. They can campaign from their house, their bubble bath, because they know that they just have it like that. They can just sit there and they don't have to go greet anybody. They don't have to do this hard labor. They don't have to go out here and actually campaign. They've got people that will always represent them. You'll never see them until there's money being exchanged.
it was interesting because we were there at the Capitol and Robert O'Rourke, okay, the real name, was they were having a big rally about the redistricting, and O'Rourke gets up there and he starts talking about the Republicans have lost their muscle memory on how to campaign, okay, and then I look at Al Green and I look at Sylvia Garcia.
Right.
I don't see a lot of muscle memory there either.
I don't either.
So I think that's
When's the
bodes
last
well
time
for your campaign.
When's the last time you saw Al Green in the third ward?
The last time I saw him, he was shaking a cane around that Capitol.
He was shaking his cane in Austin. So, I mean, I don't know. That cane is a paid actor or something. And he's up there, and I'm like, okay, nice cane.
All right, guys, let's get into the subject of the show today, which is taxation.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
I'm on Mark's website, and the first button that pops up is sales tax relief.
Ooh.
Can you tell us about that?
Sure. One of the things that when I ran for comptroller, I said we should be able to go through and afford this was 2022, 0.5% cut in the sales tax.
Yes.
And now I'm sitting looking at a full 1%. Okay. Think about every Texan, whether they own property or not, okay, can go through there and save 1%, all right, on all their taxable purchases. I mean, right there, you take a bite out of inflation. Just the state of Texas says, hey, we're big enough, we're strong enough.
Everybody.
And it affects everybody, whether you own property or not, affects whether you're an adult or a child buying your candy bar.
Right.
Okay? You're going to save money. So that's one of the big drivers. And then you get into, well, how does this go through? And on my website, you can go down. I show where the money is, how the money comes up. The comptroller goes through there and he says, let me see, I'll just make sure I get this right. He says that we're going to have $362 billion, right, in revenue. That was the comptroller's number, okay? Then they budgeted $338 billion of expenditures over the next biennium, okay? That leaves a bottom of $24 billion that's falling down, okay? That's not allocated for anything.
Right.
All right, so they're going to collect. Now, they like to call them surpluses, all right? They're not. They're over-collected taxes. They're
right.
Over-collected taxes from the taxpayers. A 1% sales tax
Over-collected?
cut. Overcollected.
That was a very nice way to say theft, but okay. I'm just saying. That might be a little controversial what I said, but I'm just saying.
It's true.
If I overcollect, I borrowed $20 from you and I overcollect and get 50 from you. What did I just do?
Get my $30.
Okay.
So a 1%, all right, would reduce the revenue to the state by $16 billion. Remember, they got $24 billion, right? All we're talking about is taking $16 billion less, okay? That will still leave $7.5 billion for situations that could occur that are unanticipated, a flood, other type of things, okay?
Right.
So you still have $7.5 billion. Now, the problem is that not only do you have this overcollected taxes, okay, you have a legislature without any self-discipline. All right, to look out for the collected tax.
That's right.
That they steal.
Right. That robbery.
And so, what do they do with it? They're going to take $2.5 billion, all right, and give it to Hollywood.
Right. That's what they're going to do.
Hollywood millionaires are going to get this.
Wait, say that again. They're going to say the number again.
It's over the next 10 years. It's $2.5 billion. That they're going to take.
The state of Texas is doing this.
Yes, from the Texas Treasury, right, to subsidize Hollywood.
Because they're bringing it, they're building movie sets here, and so they're thinking, oh, this is going to bring so much here, and this, that, and the third. They're basically trying to turn Texas into California. That's really what's getting ready to happen.
Who's leading this effort at the state level?
at the state level, that'd be your lieutenant governor. So,
Dan Patrick.
Yeah. So,
I think they're being.
I mean. Keep it in California.
Yeah, but you've got the Matthew McConaughey's coming down into the Capitol, but you've got the Matthew McConaughey. They've moved here already. Look, these people have been moving into Texas for the last decade. I'm just telling you, there's this big push to turn, especially the Austin area, into your LA. Yep. Okay, there's a lot of individuals from California, movie stars and things like that own homes in Texas, in the Austin area. That whole area is really starting to look like LA.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock is owning Smithville. Sandra Bullock owns a big place in Smithville.
Yes, she does.
Smithville, Texas. So they're
Texas
in here big
is
time.
the spot.
I mean, Matthew McConaughey with his Texas twang accent is such a bunch of nonsense. He was the first one to add with the where did the school shooting happen in Texas? Uvalde. And he goes in and starts stumping for gun confiscation of citizenry. And that guy's supposed to be a Texan? Yeah. What a joke.
No, he's not. He's an actor.
They can keep that stuff in California.
Yeah, no. We don't need to subsidize it. And now I've got articles that show now Georgia, okay? Mm-hmm. And I've talked to a lot of people. Oh, well, we wanted to make movies. I don't have a problem with them making movies in Texas. But why do we have to pay them?
Let it grow organically.
Right. Let it grow. Let them. So
raise
on the floor,
money.
Because I was there when they were having the debate, okay? And Senator Huffman, who sponsored all this, okay? Senator Huffman sponsored all this stuff, okay? And she's on the floor talking about how these producers say how great Texas is to film in.
I mean,
this and that and all this kind of stuff. And you're sitting there going, well, if we're such a great state, they should be paying us to make their movies.
Okay. First of all, we got to look at who's contributing to her campaign. Why would she feel the necessity to go out and stump for Hollywood moving to Texas?
Follow the money.
Okay. So the other thing you're doing is all of these independent movie producers that are here organically in the state of Texas are being squelched because the minute that these big money moves in with their connections to our state government, they will just overpower them with all the cash that they have.
All this corporate welfare stuff, and I campaigned against. That was one of my biggest drivers in the comptroller race in 2022 was get rid of corporate welfare.
Yes.
We got what's frustrating is that the grassroots got rid of this Chapter 313, and that's a whole thing. But it's just corporate welfare,
right.
Okay? So the grassroots got rid of Chapter 313.
Yes.
In 2021, all right? Only to have 2023 bring back Chapter 403. The taxpayers said we want businesses here,
right.
All right? We want to grow our economy. We want to be a vibrant state to do business. And we want people to come here and we want them to make money and be successful, all right? But if you're going to come to Texas and you're not going to participate in meeting our water needs, if you're not going to sit there and participate in helping fortify our grid, if you're not going to want to participate in helping build the roads and the highways that are needed for your employees and your product, okay? Yes. You don't need to come to Texas. No. You come to Texas to be part of the Texas economy, not suck
from us and drain us out.
I
The
want to
other-
get to that. I want to quickly do our featured product of today, and it is, apologize, I put it up on my shoulder today. It's the X39 patch. This patch is incredible. It's photolight therapy. Trying to get it on the screen there. There it is right there, the X39 patch. So Pedro is a carpenter in Connecticut, and lifelong hammering nails, hammer and nails. His hand's swollen up. To an unhealthy level. He starts wearing this patch, and within 3 weeks, his hand returns to normal size. As for myself, prior to this patch, I had a heavy caffeine dependency. I work out hard. I work hard during my weeks. I have to have 2 to 3 large caffeine drinks a day just to keep myself going. I start this patch, and I no longer need caffeine. It's amazing. I used to pack the caffeine to go to work every day. I leave it unpacked. We're not buying those big caffeine drinks. It's the X39 patch. And to get this patch, to get a discount, to learn more, text the word Patriot to 330-606-2304 to learn about the patch. 330-606-2304. This thing is amazing. I no longer get sleepy behind the wheel. I no longer have daytime crashes. I wake up 5 a.m. crack of dawn, roll out of bed, sharp as a tack. It's the patch. Text Patriot to 330-606-2304 and learn more about the X39 patch. Okay, getting back to the corporatocracy of Texas. Okay, I would like a resolution passed that our governors no longer try to stimulate industry. We don't. First of all, we're doing fine. Thank you very much. We don't need your help.
Yes.
But they're getting it's all crony.
Yes, it is.
We need
Cronyism to the
Cronyism.
We need a complete separation of economics and state.
I agree.
Well, here's one of the things that I like about this 403, though. There is something I like about it because it puts the governor in a very, very critical authority over this, all right? And let me tell you as governor, how many 403s I will be signing off on, okay?
Mark's running for governor.
Yes.
And so that's number one. No, the number two is you also have the line item veto, okay?
Yes.
So to me, there's some things that were passed this legislative session where we're going to build a monument to a representative's friend because they had a crisis and their children, and it was bad. It was a bad situation. Their children, I think, or grandchildren got killed by some drunk, illegal alien, drunk, and that, okay? And so those are it's a horrible situation. But there are a lot of horrible situations. I don't know necessarily that we should be taking, $1.5 million, all right, to build a statue, because you're a friend of a state rep. So to me, as a line item veto, as a governor, I can say, I'm sorry, go raise half of it.
Well,
Right.
Just go raise half of the
3/4.
money. If it's that important,
3/4.
yes, raise half and then come back to the state and say, hey, man, could you help us
Match
what we've got, because we've proven that there is a desire
Right.
for this, for this monument.
Right.
And I go through and I look at, how many families and how many people, right, have been affected by these illegal aliens and the crimes that they bring with them, okay? And, for some reason, this is going to have a trophy. And those are things to me that there's just this whole lack of. It's just like a teenager with too much money. You know,
that's
they don't
exactly
have
what it is.
they don't have the physical discipline
temperance.
to sit there and say. And that's why, hey, how do you do it? You take their money away.
Right,
All right.
that's it. You hit 'em where it
And you
hurts.
take your money away at the sales tax from the because that's what the state controls.
Yes.
In this special session, they could cut the sales tax by 1%, okay, and have it in place by September the 1st.
Ooh.
All right, that's how fast they could make it happen.
When you're working for the people, that's the kind of
the kind of
speed
things
that
you
you
would do.
operate in,
locally for your local property tax, when you get rid of corporate welfare, you bring these properties back onto the tax rolls.
Mm-hmm.
You have apartment complexes that are at zero for the taxes. It's valued at zero for tax purposes. Okay.
Oh, yeah?
I went through and did a study for the Cy-Fair School District on it.
Okay, real quick. So say it again. The apartment buildings have a zero tax. They're being subsidized.
Well,
what you're saying?
the fact that they don't have to pay any property taxes, yes.
Okay.
I did not know this.
Yeah, HFCs and PFCs, and it's a problem. And the issue about it is that, like I said, I did this little analysis for Cy-Fair. I said two of the apartment complexes in Cy-Fair, all right, is the equivalent in revenue to 800 homes. It takes 800 homes to make up for the 2 apartment complexes that are taxed at zero because there are zero value on taxable value on the
Because we don't tax that type of property?
Well, there's supposed to be for housing relief, and to provide
Like a subsidized housing,
right.
Section 8,
Section
stuff
8
like
type.
that.
And then, but the Chronicle did a big article on it, and they show that, how many actually live up to the standards and making sure that there is the low income people having available to this rent. And the record is pretty spotty. Let's just call it that. Okay. And so again, here we are, we're going through, we're saying we're going to make affordable housing, and we're going to do it by having a whole apartment complex, all right, go to zero. That's just that. It's like I say all the time, when these corporate welfare programs, all right, they go through there, and it's like going to dinner. So 3 couples go to dinner, right? 6 people go to dinner. They're having dinner. It's a nice dinner, a wonderful dinner, right? It comes back, the bill's $600, okay? So it's $200 a couple.
Right.
Until one of the couples says, oh, I forgot my wallet. I can't pay. Now it's $300 a couple.
Right.
And that's what's happening with corporate welfare. That's what's
Why
happening
do you
with
call
property
it corporate
taxes.
welfare?
Well, because
These are public subsidized housing.
we're talking about a number of different levels. Okay, so you have
Government
apartment complexes that are owned by corporations. Okay, you have a level of Chapter 312s, which are local abatements and exemptions. Okay, which could be all or none of the property value.
Right.
Okay, and that's why to me I want to challenge the current Republicans that are running for county judge. All right.
Yes.
You've got Warren Howe. You've got Oscar Gonzalez and Lisa Dutt. Okay.
And Lisa Dutt.
And so, hey, look, number one is what are you going to do to try to bring back as many of those exempted properties? There's some of them are living up to the code. There's reasons to do some of these things. Okay. Some, right. Let's find out the ones that are not.
Okay, real quick. Are they exempted simply because they're low income?
Well,
Or
for
are
the
they exempted
apartment
on other
complex,
reasons?
a local official, any one of those county judges, they have to do a few things, but they can go and award a Chapter 312 to some corporation because they're going to do something, okay? And so they're going to say, hey, look, I'm going to give you a certain exemption off of your property taxes because I want you to build your office or locate this facility, right, in my precinct. Okay, so I'm going to give you a Chapter 312 exemption, okay, for your property taxes.
It's a deal.
Okay, now again, if, for example, so you're going to bring in a big, what was it talking about bringing some kind of manufacturing plant up there in the Conroe area, okay, and so they come in, they say, oh man, you don't have the right plumbing for us, you don't have the right water, you don't have the right sewage, okay, we need to enhance the sewage system that you have, right? I'm the company. I go through and say, hey, I'm going to enhance because I need to, all right?
Right.
Now, okay, do that. If you do that, all right, and build that up, then we'll give you a relief on your property taxes to kind of offset the cost of having to expand that to accommodate your business, okay? That's, arm's length transaction. That's where, hey, we're going to do something, we get something, and we're going to help you recover your cost
so there's
to provide
end
that.
date for this. They just forever, as long as this exists.
Well,
they
no,
can
there's usually some kind of a 10-year type deal, or some type of, hey, look, when you make 50% of your money back from your investment, okay,
right,
then you go back to being taxed at normal rates.
But
okay?
regular people don't
expire.
get these deals.
No, nobody comes into the small business guy who's been there, built it with his family and stuff, and been there for 30 years.
Right.
Nobody's walking into him and saying, hey, let's give you a tax abatement.
Right.
Hey, let's give you this kind of stuff. No. We want somebody else coming from out. We want this California company to come here and pay them, right? And it's all coming out of the taxpayers' pockets.
Right.
When you look at your property taxes, okay, I mean, we talked about, we were talking earlier, I mean, so Lena Hidalgo goes through and uses the loophole for the emergency disaster relief, right? And uses that to raise it by 8%. Well, I'm sure, I hope that one of these 3 candidates, all right, will be able to go through there and find 2% property tax cut.
Right.
I mean, I'm sitting there saying, this is an elimination of 1% sales tax, all right? We're not going to move it around. We're taking 1% off of
I think that's reasonable.
Well, it is reasonable, and the math works.
Right, the math is mathing.
The state can afford it. Still has $7.5 billion, and I don't
still
have a
have
problem
money left.
with the state having some leftovers for
Just in
funds
case.
and some things to be able to respond to situations. That's a healthy state,
right?
And so you're not going to be caught off guard. I don't know what California with all the fires and everything else. I don't know if they don't have the resources to respond. Okay,
right.
We are a prosperous state. We do have good regulation, right?
Yes.
And even though the taxes are high, we still have, we're talking about the property taxes. Texas is in the top 10,
It
all
is.
right? It's like number 45, all right, of the top 10 states in property taxes. But every one of the other states in that category have an income tax.
That's right.
And that's critical for us to understand is, yes, it is, but we don't have the income tax. And like I say, and that's part of the frustration that I've had and why I'm kind of running for governor, okay, is because we've been fed this line. The state of Texas doesn't collect property tax.
No.
All right. So this business of them playing this shell game of now you see it, now you don't, property tax relief, right? That's why Texans are frustrated. Oh yeah, okay. And then they get the bill and says, well, it went up.
Right.
Okay. What happened to the property tax relief that we were promised? And this has been going on for 20 years. It's not, you'd think we'd kind of get wise to this, okay? Your property taxes are controlled locally.
Right, I was going to say.
So when you have a county commissioner, a city council, a school board, first question is, how much are you going to lower my property tax?
They're not.
Right? How much are you going to lower the rate? Oh, they'll scream bloody. Does anybody ever walk into their boss and say, hey, man, could you cut my salary? How about, I'm just making too much money, right? Well, your governments are no different.
Right.
They're not going to voluntarily come up to you and say, hey, man, we don't want to take your money anymore. And that's why, to me, one of the whole property tax and sales tax thing, because I get into some of these conversations, is and some of this stuff is all you're saying is hey, I'm not going to pay the taxes with property taxes. I'm going to pay it with a different tax. All right. Again, this sales tax eliminates. You will save money. You'll save $253. Every Texan, man, woman, and child, will save $253 in the biennium. Okay, with just this one sales tax cut. Okay, so
just that one.
Just that 1%. Yes. So to me, again, those are the kind of things. A family of four, that's $500 a year, $1,000.
Right.
So to me, that's why it's important. And I don't want to go into saying, okay, well, we're going to replace this property tax with that property tax. We're going to get rid of the M&O tax, maintenance and operation for school debt, because that's the highest. I understand it's the highest tax.
It is.
And it does need to be addressed, okay? But a couple of things that people can do. One is stop voting for bonds.
That part.
So,
well, they come with the plea that, we've got, and obviously when the border was wide open, we were getting this influx of students, so much so that they've had to build, because you can only, I guess, 2,500 students per school. And so you have to build these schools to accommodate this influx of people. But you don't really have the monies to make up for it. So there goes another star bond right there. Another bond for the school. So that's why I think people get a little concerned when we start talking education. They're like, you're talking about my property taxes here. We're going to be paying more money, aren't we?
Well, yeah. And like you're saying, I mean, these bonds, and of course, we need a new stadium. I agree. We do. We could use a new stadium. But why do we have to play in Taj Mahal?
Where are you getting
where
are you getting the money for this?
Where are you getting the money? And does it have to be that extreme? Does it have to be,
the most gauche stadium out there? State of the art.
Right. It'd be like if you had one premier stadium.
Yes.
Okay. In the district.
And then everybody went to that.
Well, then you might play, some of your games would be played on, a more normal stadium.
Right.
Okay. And then for your big playoffs or whatever, you have your nice super duper. Okay. The fact that every one of them, Kate Cy-Fair is just as bad as right. Every one of them seems to have to be
their
bigger
own.
And grander and everything else.
They're competing.
Yeah, within the district.
Right.
So no, Texans are overtaxed. They're so overtaxed.
Too much
they're overtaxed
spending.
on income. They're on the sales tax. They're overtaxed on property taxes, and it's time we start to address the fundamentals of why we are overtaxed.
Hey, real quick, sales tax. What is the rate of sales tax in the state of Texas?
The state of Texas sales tax rate is 6.25%.
6.25%. And then do the counties put something on top of that?
You have two 1% additions to that by local.
Yes.
So if you live in Houston,
how much again? 6.1?
6.25.
6.25.
Right, 6.25.
And it goes up to 8.25 with the local additions.
Correct. Right. One of them in Houston, and they're different across the state of where those percentages are done. But Houston, one is the MTA.
Yes.
All right. So your metropolitan, and to me, Whitmire's talked about this, and I hope we do something to say, hey, look, we're only going to give you 0.5% of this of that, and take the other half for the city or whatever.
Right.
And then the other is either the city of Houston, or if you live out in unincorporated areas, there's that 1% that goes to them. And then if you're in TERS, I think they get a whole nother,
Okay,
that's a whole nother
from the
conversation.
6.25%, how much is the state generating?
There,
You gave me the number, right? That's the $600 billion number?
well, that's total sales tax.
Oh, that's from the whole 8.25.
That includes government. That includes every dollar that the
includes
state
property
of
taxes,
Texas.
too.
No, not property taxes. It includes like federal, because the federal government gives you a piece.
Right.
And this is on my webpage, goodgovernance.today. Right. We go through this whole thing. Got 5 sections on it. So sales tax collection is $104 billion. Right. It represents 58% of all the collected taxes that we have. Okay.
Excellent.
The federal income to Texas is $115 billion. All right. So that's where you get the 362 is the taxes up here plus what the federal government does, and that comes into the $362 billion. So, that's how it's all generated. Like I said, goodgovernance.today. You can go through there. You can see the very first page, just pan down. There's 5 sections to it. It goes through and talks about each one of the parts of the revenue, right? And then how it's collected, and then how it's broken down, and then how we can easily afford, right, a 1% sales tax cut.
I love that.
I hope every state representative starts to get challenged. Okay, you're running for office. We know we can afford a 1% sales tax cut. How are you going to get it done when you get there to Austin?
And that 1% presents how much of a savings to us again? Or how much is the overage right now that we have? $24 billion?
$24 billion.
And $2.5 billion is being given to Hollywood.
Over the next 10 years, so it's $500 million a year. It's $50. So here's one of the things. This is what's exciting, or so much exciting. Only one Democrat voted no on giving McConaughey money. Okay.
Why do you say McConaughey?
Well,
'Cause that's who was in the
Hollywood.
court?
Yeah, he
led
and
the effort.
Harrelson were out there testifying. They had
Yes.
a big picture of him.
Yes.
I think it's on my website. But at any rate, there's a
He
big
didn't
picture
bring the
of him.
bongos, though.
He did.
I mean, one of the things I want to say about it is that
Show me the. All right.
Yeah.
That's
All
it.
right.
I want that $2.5 billion.
one of the things that bothers me is that these like McConaughey and Harrelson, they're sort of rejecting California now when they're largely leftist themselves.
Rejecting
and yeah, right,
California.
quote unquote. What they're really doing is incorporating
They're
Texas.
spreading its
Right.
toxicity and
So
poison.
they moved to our most leftist city, which is Austin, and then claim that they're Texans. Why don't they move to Beaumont? Why don't they move to Brownsville?
Harlingen. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Why don't they move there? No.
Move to
They're going to go
Vidor.
sit up in Austin, where they're secured, where they're insulated
Big
with
time.
their fellow leftists, where they then begin to steer the agenda for the state of Texas. They move to the city where they're seeing the legislators at the coffee shops, at the happy hours, and oh my goodness, it's Matthew McConaughey over there. Let's get a picture. They start to steer the agenda. So $2.5 billion towards going to Hollywood. I say nix
No.
that.
It's a no for me.
Absolutely. So here, take a look at that and see if I can put that on that camera. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there. Right. We've got leaky wells. We got
They
situation.
have a marijuana
Yes.
leaf.
Yes.
And that's
Well, in Austin,
Bill?
Texas is going to Bill
Austin
Maher
has
and-
decriminalized marijuana. By the way,
Bill Maher.
Austin has
and Woody
decriminalized
Harrelson, and
marijuana.
They're in the state of Texas.
yes.
And what are they doing?
But well, no, that's in California.
Okay.
So we're going to go through there and make all this THC and take away marijuana, right? Meanwhile, we're going to give $2.5 billion to Harrelson, who's opening up marijuana
Okay.
shops in
Right.
California.
Right.
So that's the point that this flyer's making. Should we spend money on
Our wells
Our
and
wells
our
that are
aquifers.
leaking.
Yeah, our wells that are leaking, or should we bring Bill Maher and Woody Harrelson and their dope smoking agenda to Austin, Texas?
Because that's what they're pushing.
Yeah, I'm not taking a stance on that.
Right.
But I'm saying that I don't want these guys setting the agenda.
It's crazy that
but here's the
they
issue
live in
is,
Austin.
is Dan Patrick is setting this marijuana agenda, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, he's sitting there going through and giving this guy who's cutting into a marijuana cake because they're opening up a brand new marijuana shop, okay? He's subsidizing his movies, right? So how do you go through? I want to know, Texas legislature, how do we reconcile? We're not going to sit there and fix this, but we are going to allow this, but we are going to make it illegal for Texans to go through there and have smoking for their whatever health needs they say they have,
Right,
okay,
right.
that it requires. We're going to outlaw that, but we are going to sit there and subsidize them to make movies to open up a marijuana shop in California. So if you can
That
afford to
makes
fly
no
to California, then you can buy your dope there.
This
I
is
mean,
why
that's
we need
what's
the
going
grassroots.
on here.
Crazy.
We need the grassroots to stand up right now because these dudes are coming to Texas. Texas is the ripe economy. We built it, not them.
Right.
And they're coming here. You know, they're coming here to steal the thunder. And you know, they can go back to California. Have a nice day.
They're right over there in Austin. Within 40 miles from Austin is Gerald, Texas, where they're struggling with their aquifers there. There's a lot of water that is not going into that area, and it's becoming very dry. They're building more and more developments over there, not enough water. They are right there in that area. They're not bringing awareness to this issue in that region.
Yeah.
They're right in that region.
And one of the things, they create jobs, Now, to me, when the state is
Nah.
going to subsidize a job, okay, that's a job. That's with a 9 to 5, a vacation plan, and health insurance, and all
Right.
that kind of stuff, right? That's, to me, when the state is going to subsidize jobs. That's
Right.
No. These are build a set, paint the backdrop, right? Make a costume.
No job security.
That's all he talked about on the Senate floor was, there'll be costumes. Those jobs, bink,
just want
right?
the-
And then hey, Texas guy, you can make the costume. Ooh, you charge too much. Okay, hey, man, I found a guy in Iowa that make that costume for half the price that you're going to pay in Texas. Okay, well, we'll go to get them from Iowa. These are
Right.
not jobs. This is not creation of jobs,
No.
okay? And right now in Georgia, everybody, look at Georgia, okay? Georgia right now is starting to realize, hey, man, I think they spend $1.3 billion, okay, on movies, okay, all right? And they're starting to realize this price is too high. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I looked at them and I said, guess what? The state of Texas, or in this case, it'd be, $500 million, but Georgia's starting to realize we don't break even until we generate $1.3 billion in revenue before the state breaks even. 1.3 before they break even.
We're
And I'm
losing
sitting there
money.
going, if we're going to do something like, we shouldn't do this, all right? But
At all.
If all right, then I want Texas to get a royalty. I want the Texas
I agree.
Treasury to be able to participate
That's
in that
good.
movie. We're going to get 10% of that,
Yes.
and then we're going to become the Desilu, right?
That's right.
Okay. Every time that movie gets shown, somewhere, anywhere,
We're getting
all right,
paid.
money
Cha-ching.
comes into the
Cha-ching.
Texas Treasury. We're financing. Hey, I'm an investor in your movie.
Yes.
I want the payback
Right.
of investing in your movie.
Texas
I
needs
think-
the dividends.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
again, I think the better idea is to make it a low tax, rich environment in the state of Texas, fertile for new business development. I want to see the next, young welder start a new welding business in Texas.
I agree.
I want to see the next machinist start a machine shop in Texas.
I agree.
I do not want to see Hollywood productions in Texas that are funded by the state. I'd be totally okay with the next young artist starting his own production
Right.
organically, but not
Yeah.
this stuff.
No,
nobody
this
wants
is
to
not
sit
okay.
there. No, I don't, like I say, again, in this conversation, I was going, they can make all the movies they want. I mean, I'm happy to make movies.
Right.
I'd like to see somebody walk in, put $5,000, make a big movie, and walk away with $1 million.
Right.
I'm happy as heck. All right.
Right.
But to go through there, and this is on the Democrat side, I'm challenging. I think it's Gonzalez and Dutton. All right, over there in the 5th Ward.
Yes.
How do you? This is the first installment, the $500 million a year, or over the biennium. Okay, it's $15 from every time. How do you walk up in your district? All right, in 5th Ward, knock on the door and say, "Hey, I'm going to take $15 from everybody in this house to go to Hollywood." All right, we're going to subsidize multimillionaires. McConaughey is worth $160 million. You look that up. But at any rate, we're going to take $15 from you in this little 5th Ward home. All right, Dutton voted for that. Okay,
Who's Dutton?
Dutton is the state rep for 5th Ward, right? And then
Is he Democrat?
Yes.
Yes.
Only one Democrat voted against this thing. You'd think, we're
Who
for
was
the
it that
poor,
voted
we're for
against
the
it?
Ramos.
Out of where?
Either Austin, San Antonio kind of area. All right.
Yeah, he doesn't want to see these people in his.
Well, it's a woman,
hometown.
but Ramos, like I say, she's the only. She actually had another bill about transparency on for the charter schools, but more transparency on where they're getting their money and how they're getting their money. That's another thing that I'm fighting is recapture, which is a Robin Hood, and that's a whole nother show. But anyway, but that's something that we fought. And we did get in this legislative session, that there will be an accounting for this recapture they collect from Spring Branch, from HISD, from all these other school districts. I mean, the problem is that, okay, so Galveston pays recapture, all right? And you go through there and you say, because they have all these, high rent, the beach houses and all this kind of stuff, and you're sitting there going, okay, but the people who live in Galveston, all right, they're not the high socioeconomic level. So you're taking money from an area. Another one is Dilley, Texas, poor district, rural, okay, but they happen to be sitting on top of oil wells. Well, the people in Dilley, ISD, don't own the oil wells, okay?
Wow.
And the people who live in Galveston don't own the beach houses,
No.
okay? So we need to go through there and look at how this recapture is supposed to work. And again, but we did get the accounting done in this legislative session. So I was happy with that. Now it's all the follow-up to make sure the accounting gets done and that it's a worthwhile endeavor by the Texas Education Agency, which, by the way, the Texas Education Agency Commissioner, right, is appointed. He's been appointed for 10 years. If Texas public education is in a mess, all right, then it would be point, right, to the guy who's been in charge of it for 10 years. And I'm going to say that position should be elected because that person should have to go around the state and tell how they're going to go through there, because I don't think you can get elected in Texas saying, I'm going to make sure every second grader has a drag queen story hour. All right. That's not going to get you elected as Texas Education Commissioner. So a Texas Education Commissioner being an elected official, all right, will make them accountable to the people, all right, instead of to whoever appoints them. So that to me is a great improvement. We want to improve public education. This guy's been in charge of it for 10 years. And we're in fact, now we got to go through there. He's gone through there and messed up public education so much, right, that we have to go through now and subsidize people, right, to get out of it, to go to private homeschools. So now we got to go through and take $1 billion subsidized people, right?
So you're wanting to revisit that recapture?
Well, recapture will. I mean, we'll see how it all works out. We want the accounting for it because right now it all it's supposed to go to wealth equalization. So that and people, that's social. It is socialism. I'm not going to argue that.
I mean, there's always a portion of socialism in operation at all times.
Right. And what are we talking about? We're talking about helping Texans who live in poorer school districts, whether rural or whatever, okay, against Texans who live in Spring Branch or in refineries and all this kind of stuff.
More affluent areas.
I'm okay with helping other Texans, okay?
But not with slush funds.
Well, when it goes into, it gets commingled into the whole state budget and the whole state revenue, and then you say,
that's where the problem is.
That's where the problem was. Well, did that dollar go to public education? Did that dollar go? Do you need that much money for wealth equalization? All right. Okay, I did last session. I went around the Capitol and said, "Hey, man, I'm telling you, we don't." It was they were doing like 3.5 billion or something in this recapture, and I said, "I think it only cost $2 billion." Hey, comptroller, prove me wrong, because to prove me wrong, you have to do the accounting.
You have to do.
So,
the accounting.
I was wrong. Okay, good. Now we know. All right. So I'll be happy to be wrong if we get the information.
You're holding the comptroller accountable, aren't you?
That's why I ran for it. So that is, to me, that's very, very critical, okay, to having that transparency and to go through there. And I have that, with the comptroller. Well, it goes through the formulas and goes into public education. Well, is wealth equalization going to charter schools? Because that's not wealth equalization, right?
No, it's not.
Is it end up, and I have these conversations with it can't go outside of education. That would be illegal. Okay, but if you can't account for it,
then where's it at?
No, it doesn't. How do you? I was in one of the legislators' offices. I said, for all we know, that trash bucket in your office could have been bought by recaptured dollars. We don't know.
Right.
That's all we're asking for is
where's the money?
Let's know. Once we do know, okay, then we'll answer the questions of what should we collect, and if we can relieve school districts from having to pay recapture like Spring Branch, okay, then they can pay less, and the schools that need this boost will get it. I don't have a problem with the concept of wealth equalization across public education in the state of Texas for Texans. Right. All right, no problem. All right. But when you go through there and you don't do an accounting and you create this money, and you can't tell how it applies to making sure this happens, this wealth equalization happens, then you've created a slush fund.
Right.
Not a wealth equalization fund.
That's correct.
And that's what the Supreme Court of Texas ordered. Wealth equalization, not go out tax rich school districts and make a slush fund. That's not what the judges said.
That's not what they said. So you're saying they need to be doged. That's what you're saying.
Well, they need. Well, we do. Yeah. Once we do the accounting, I'm suspecting that the Doge will come after.
But, some stuff's gonna happen after that one.
there's like I say. I mean, you got $24 billion right there of surplus, right? Okay, and I'm sitting there going, no, and and 2.5 billion is going to go to Hollywood. You sit there going,
No.
that needs to be doged.
Right. Absolutely.
And I'll make sure that gets doged.
Well, see, if there's no transparency on where all these dollars are being spent and where they're going, then yeah, absolutely, they need to be called to the carpet on that.
Sure.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm surprised that a Democrat was asking for transparency on that. It just makes you wonder if maybe she got cordoned off and she didn't get any of the money, so maybe she was kind of burnt or something. But
she may be, because her deal was on charter schools. Another one wanted an audit of the TEA. These were Democrat initiatives. Okay, so there was plenty of times I was walking around the Capitol thinking I was upside down world, because I'm sitting there having this being done. Okay,
right.
Meanwhile, I have them Democrats asking for transparency and accountability. I'm sitting there going, and you're doing this, and I'm going, worlds are colliding here,
Matthew McConaughey, he's very charismatic, and so he kind of comes across as kind of like, oh, he's nice, he's personable, and I think people fall for that, but he's an actor. He is like paid to do this. He's paid to channel people and present that. That's not who he is when he's at home alone, and so I think people fall for that. Like when he's in court, he's portraying this image, and so they're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Us spending taxpayer dollars. We're not even going to ask them. We don't care what they say. We're just going to spend their money. That's what's happening here.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'd like to go through there on some of the property tax deal, because right now, Lena Hidalgo, fudged in on this natural disaster thing to go to the 8%.
Right.
Because normally you'd have to have that for a vote. Because if you go up more than 3%, it has to go to the voters to approve an increase of 3%.
Right.
Okay. And I'm going to say, you know what? All of it. You want a tax increase?
Right.
Right. You come to me, you got to get my vote for a bond.
Absolutely.
Right? Then you're going to have to come to me and start asking the voters for approval for any property tax rate increase.
She
Right?
should have never spent temporary money on permanent things in the first place and then come around and ask for more money and more tax hikes. She is just unfit for her position.
Poor
Sorry.
gal. Yeah.
Saying that on the record.
Yeah, that was a pretty sad display of just many things.
She used those children.
Deal. Yeah, she should be ashamed of herself.
She exploited them, is what she did,
Yeah,
and used them, and basically became some fodder for entertainment for the public after that, because she then turns around, slams her laptop and her gavel, walks out the door, and then starts talking to these kids and saying, I'm so sorry you're this, and I'm so sorry they don't care about you. These kids don't even know what's going on. They were coloring.
Yeah.
Like, what are you even saying, lady? You're using them.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame. She sat there and exploited these kids. I don't even know if she has kids of her own, because you can't if you have that kind of mentality and you're using these kids as leverage for money that was never meant for that in the first place. You used COVID relief funds for a permanent program and then turned around when the money starts fading away. Well, we're done with COVID, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, that's happening all over the state. All the school districts are running the same buzzsaw.
It's not good.
Of money, and that whole ESSER thing. I don't know what you could have done with it, in a way that so you don't have a permanent program built around it. But that's that whole era, that whole COVID.
We're still
I have grandchildren. I have grandchildren. I don't want to make sure they learn the lesson. All right.
Right.
Of what a government can do, right, to go through there and get people indoctrinated and doing all this stuff. I couldn't believe the amount of my friends who were sitting there walking in with masked up and stuff like that. I mean, I got kicked out of a lot of nice places, There's places I don't go back to because I got kicked out of. And so, okay, fine. I was the weirdest thing. I go into the service station, I walk in, I do a lot of road travel. So anyway, I use the facility. I get my cup of coffee. I go to pay for the coffee. I don't have a mask. I don't wear a mask.
Right, me neither.
So anyway, you put a mask on. For what? To pay. To pay?
I'm touching their dirty money.
See, the coffee's here.
I already made my coffee.
I'm reaching for my wallet. I can't reach for my wallet without a mask to get. He would not take my money. I mean, a cup of coffee out of it.
I already made the coffee.
Yeah, I'm here. Do I leave the coffee and you're going to throw it away? I mean, this is. Don't you understand? No, I'm here to pay. I mean, here's the money. I can't take your money because you don't have a mask on.
There were a lot of lessons learned, I think, during COVID.
Hopefully
I really hope so. I think people started seeing how important our local governments were during that time and how lax they were prior to the whole COVID thing, these people engaged in the biggest power struggle I've ever seen with my own eyes
Right.
during COVID. It was the sickest, most disgusting display of power hunger. Like, it was ugly.
Yes.
It's still ugly
Yeah.
because now we're still like, it's like we're coming down from this high. You know what I mean? From this whole COVID thing. And now we're like reality setting in. We're having this moment of clarity where it's like, you guys screwed us over, and we're not accepting this anymore.
Yeah, our governments, they attempted to go totalitarian on us.
Really did.
It was a well thought out evil experiment.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
it was not happenstance. It wasn't a mistake.
They almost did it.
Yeah, almost.
They were close. It was because of guys like Mark standing up to him, and
Right.
saying, "I'm not putting my mask on. I want my cup of coffee."
I was one of those too.
Yeah, good.
When they tried to force the issue, I did the bandana so I could look like a bank robber instead. Because they wouldn't let me get on my plane, and
right,
so I had to put a bandana around my face, and I was like, okay, this is how we're doing
Well, yeah,
it.
I mean, we used to associate masks with bank robbers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right back in the old Wild Wild West.
Right.
And only the robbers wore masks.
Right.
And so now they want all of us to wear it, and of course that makes it so more theft can happen.
Well, one of the things that I've looked at, you're talking about totalitarian and all those kind
Right.
of things,
Right.
is that another issue that I'm on, okay, which is our agribusiness in the state of Texas. All right,
Yes,
you have
excellent.
all this encroachment on our arable land, okay,
Yes.
across the state of Texas, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, what was a cornfield is now an apartment complex.
Yes.
Okay, we're losing this area. We need to be self-sufficient in our
Absolutely.
food supply.
Yes.
We did take a step this session with HB 43, which
Yes,
was
I saw that.
which is a
Yes.
good step. So I'm excited about that, but we need to build on that because we need to make sure we can be self-sufficient in our food supply.
We need to bring more
because-
awareness to this issue that you're talking about. A lot of people don't really think about big ag, and things
Right.
like that. I'm originally from Kansas. That's all we talked about, right? From cattle on down, all of that stuff. That's very important. People do not understand how important agriculture is to our country, and especially in Texas, and how much of our land is like you said, an apartment complex
Yeah.
where once a cornfield was. It's dangerous to our food supply.
It's dangerous for that. And then we saw, okay, in the last waning days of Biden, right?
Right?
How many chicken slaughters were done over a bird flu?
Right.
Like millions.
Right.
Millions. Price of eggs going up, price
Yes.
of chicken's going up.
Yes.
Just basic protein, one of the cheapest proteins we have, right? They're making sure that the price is going
Yeah,
up.
it was
What happens
the
in
firemen setting the fire to put out the fire.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. No. That's what tyrants
That's
do.
exactly
so
what they
Texas
do.
has to make sure that we, right,
Yes.
can go through there and be self-sufficient in our agriculture needs, as much as we
Right.
can. Okay. Because if they go through and, in 3 years, right, we end up getting something like that. We want to be able to recognize that, hey, look, Texas is a sovereign state of the United States. All right. We're a sovereign state of the United States. and
That's
so
right.
we need to make sure that we have a governor that appreciates that sovereignty and defends
Right.
that sovereignty,
Right.
not only domestically,
Right. So we're not
and
dependent.
internationally when
Right.
we talk about the border and
Right.
the illegal aliens coming across.
Yeah.
And also, people in China buying up our property and our land, we got to put a stop to that, because what we're finding is that a lot of the things that are being planted do not jive with our domestic products. And so I think that there's a concerted effort to completely eliminate us from farming our own land, to destroy our crops,
Well, I have
Yes.
a
to
question.
slowly kill us from within.
Should American lands be reserved just for purchase by American
Yes.
citizens?
Yes.
Why are foreign entities and foreign individuals able to buy
You
our
can't buy
lands?
it over there. You can't go to China
Right.
and
You
go
can't
buy
go to
property
India and
like
buy
that.
land. You
No,
can't
you
buy
sure
Mexico. You
cannot.
can't go to Mexico
can't
and buy.
do
You
any
can-
of that.
So I mean, when I proposed that idea, when Louise Kolkhorst proposed that idea through a bill, the Democrats came out and called it racist and ignorant.
Xenophobic and
The
all that
idea
good
that
stuff.
American lands should be reserved for Americans.
We should just
I mean, like,
accept
how
those
much
titles.
richer would Texas be if Texas lands were primarily bought by Texans?
Right. It would be for
Yeah,
us.
I
By
think
the
there has
people,
to
for the
be
people.
a level of ensuring, all right,
Right.
that we're not selling off productive land to. I mean, you saw up there in Minnesota where they were bringing in some kind of fungus.
Right.
They were bringing in some kind of fungus
Right.
to destroy crops.
They're finding
So-
it all in different places in America.
Yeah.
That fungus, it's
Yeah.
it's very dangerous.
Yep.
It kills everything, and then nothing can grow after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's an issue. The other one, here's something else that I find interesting. Okay, and I agree on the land. Okay, that's that.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But guess what? Do you know how many of our tollways are owned by foreign countries?
Yep.
Right. 99. Right. 99 is owned by and it's one of the most expensive roadways around, and you're sitting
Yep.
there going, no, those tollways should be owned by Texas toll authorities,
That's correct.
right? Because at least if you're going to tax us like that, and a toll is a user tax.
It's a tax.
You know, it's a user. You can choose. Now, to me, I would go through every tollway has to have a free access road, right? Every tollway has to have a free access road.
Yes.
So if you want to hop on, pay the fee and go.
Right.
That's fine. Okay.
Right.
But if you can't, right, then you can ride right alongside it, just like the Beltway 8.
Right.
You can ride alongside that and stop at every stoplight,
Right,
okay?
right.
And not pay the toll, right? So if you're in a rush, take the toll. If you have
you're
time,
not,
Yeah.
go for free.
Right, go free.
Well, guys, it's been an hour, so I think
wow.
that
Oh,
we're
wow,
gonna get,
already?
cancellation
That's
here
fun.
by the station. So
Okay.
yeah. But man, it's an hour, and Mark, man, I've never met anyone that is as in depth as you are on issues.
He's the man.
I think that you're kind of overwhelming. I mean, it's a lot.
It
You know,
is a
very
lot.
technical, deep issues, and you're running through this stuff. I don't know. Like it's a lot of information to take in. You know, it's
I got a whole website, goodgovernance.today,
website? Yeah,
goodgovernance.www.goodgovernance.today. Not today, it works. It works, folks.
Yeah, I feel like if you just go read that
today.
website, you're going to
today.
know what to do in the state of Texas. So,
Yeah,
thank
no.
you for being on the show. I
Oh,
appreciate
thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Alexandria, it's very good to have you as well.
As
and,
always. I
Yeah,
love being
looking
here.
forward to the results of your campaign.
Thank you.
absolutely.
AlexandriaButlerCampaign.org. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, guys,
Enjoyed it. Great time.
I always have a
Great
good time here.
Thanks, Chris.
This is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Show. We will check back with you next Saturday next Saturday we're doing redistricting.
Ooh.
It's going to be a great show. We're having State Rep Matt Morgan on and Andy Myers, County Commissioner. It's going to be a great
Ooh,
show.
Awesome.